Good. There we go.
Hey everyone, welcome to High Vibin' with Hilary and Rev Rob.
Hello.
Yeah, so my name's Hilary. I'm from Hilary's Mindful Living, and
I'm Reverend Rob Banaszak, and I am from the Spiritual SPINister, and more about that later.
and today we are gathering for the first time, and we're going to start doing these video presentations that are going to be fun and interesting, all regarding our conversations that we normally have about spiritual topics, metaphysical topics. And we figure since this is our first show, it makes sense to sort of get to know us and get to know our origin story and how we even came to spirituality. So go ahead, Rev Rob.
Thank you, and thank you for suggesting this wonderful idea. We love to chat about metaphysical things, and I think that what a great way to kind of get the rhythm and to find a project for ourselves that we like doing. All we got to do is turn on the record button and have a conversation like we always have. So I'm excited to do this. And I'm not sure if I've shared with you what some of like the long-term spiritual history I have been through. I like to talk, so you can cut me off if I start getting a little long-winded. But I was raised Catholic back in my youth, and I like to say that I was like a suburban Catholic. So my parents each went to Catholic school. They were raised, having that Catholic school and church be a part of their kind of, existence. So they went to school and they learned the prayers and all those things. When they moved to the suburbs, like people did when they got married in the 60s, I think they saw that they were a little bit separate from, they were trying to separate themselves from the church, did not send us to Catholic schools. They sent us to a public school, which automatically puts us in a different spot than they were growing up. So there was a little bit of a detachment from that immersion in the faith, for me at least. But I always feel like I had an ongoing conversation with God. And most likely it was the patriarchal God that most of us have grown up with as well. But it still felt like very personal to me. I still felt like I had a friend in this deity that was always with me. So, I think I always felt like I seem to be approaching this relationship differently, and found a lot of beauty in the church, the ritual, the kind of the pageantry of it. It made things very intentional. So I think I always appreciated that part of it. I was in the church choir. I was an altar boy. And then even into adulthood, I found a church that had a choir, and I really enjoyed it up until my mid-20s. So, I was in it. But along the way, started to realize that some of the ways that we were being told to think were not the ways my life was playing out. I mean, I started realizing I was gay, and gay and the Catholic Church don't necessarily go hand in hand. So I'm feeling separate already. And then as I became older and more, at least socially aware, the patriarchal system, becomes very apparent, and the not ordaining women priests, and the stuff that came along with that, with just social awareness, really began to confuse me and to make me feel like this was not ultimately going to be for me. And in the meantime, discovered my source material for my new age, kind of my metaphysical awakening, was Shakti Gawain's creative visualization. And I am pretty sure that I know I got this book title from, I had an intern that worked for me when I was in the public relations department of the City of Pittsburgh Parks and Recreation. And I don't know how we even got on the topic, but she had said, "Oh, I'm reading this book. It's creative visualization. You go to a place in your mind and you have this, you think and visualize the things you want to manifest, and then they come true." And I was fascinated by this, and I think I either went out and bought it or she bought it for me. At the time it was a little short book that was easy to read, and it all made sense to me. You read this, you visualize what you want in your life, which is something we already do. Like, this book made me realize how much we already create the life of our thoughts, and we manifest what we think about. And I don't know if it was working for me, but it all made sense. And I had another conversation. I know you're going to talk about this book as well, with somebody who said, well, hey, if you love Shakti Gawain, you're going to love Louise Hay. And so inspired, went out and got You Can Heal Your Life. And once that happened, like, the deal was sealed. There we go. You Can Heal Your Life. Truly a transformative way of looking at life. Louise was really about healing the trauma of how we were raised to think about spirituality and life and ourselves. Like, she just really pointed out that we were not given the tools to think positively and be positive. And I think that's where I began to see differently. And this is right at the beginning of her and Shakti Gawain's mainstream kind of infiltration. So made sense to me. I didn't really think anything of it. I just kept reading books that were kind of offshoots of that, or a part of that whole movement. Marianne Williamson, A Return to Love, Conversations with God. So they all made sense to me. And, that's where I took my spirit. I finally let go of the Catholic Church, mostly because at the time I had a boyfriend who didn't want to go to church on Sundays. So going out and being out, and then sleeping in on Sunday mornings became a priority. But that kind of gave me that distance. Then I just looked I think I wanted a church, and I found a couple different churches that I was trying out that were not Catholic. That was weird to try to go into another place, because then you feel that, oh wait, this feels like it's wrong or different. And but settled. I really Louise Hay was raised in the science of mind tradition. Ernest Holmes, creative Science of Mind is a book written by Ernest Holmes. Is kind of their text, and I related to that faith that she was embracing, and that's where I started to look for churches. So that was my first non-Catholic church, was the Science of Mind Church. Then I moved back to DC after we had moved away, and looking for a church that was like that, and found the Institute for Spiritual Development, and that's where I have been ever since, in 2008. So it's kind of an evolution of kind of jettisoning myself from the Catholic Church, kind of embracing this new idea of God and spirituality, and then kind of reconnecting it and making, being grateful that that conversation I had since I was a little kid was all real and still was part of the current life that I was leading spiritually. So, and here I am, and, more committed than ever. I've always thought that I had it in my mind that I was going to, help people understand what my new understanding of God and spirit and life was. So that's about as sure as I could get it.
Very nice. And still very involved in all of those things. That's awesome.
Yes, I love it. I love watching people gain the understanding. And it's really my personal ministry that we understand that when we speak of this divine power, when we speak of God, it is about being within us. This God is within us. It is, we are a part of it, and it is a part of us, and you can't separate the two. So it's wonderful to see people, understand that or learn to live it. So.
I feel like once you open up this door, you can't shut it again. For me, it's so intoxicating. Like I'm always wanting to learn more, to read more books, to be in more experiences that are metaphysical, because it's not like it's an addiction. It's like who we are,
right?
Right. Yeah. So, okay, my journey is a little different because I was born and raised Jewish. And I didn't grow up going to, I did go to synagogue but not often. I
Mm.
got bat mitzvahed and then we were done. But I do remember that every time I was in Sunday school or in synagogue, I would not pay attention. I remember feeling like I couldn't connect to it at all from the time I was a little girl. I remember sitting at high holiday services, which was like Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, and they were like the really important services. And I would literally count the lights on the ceiling because I just didn't resonate with it. It didn't. And I'm not sure my family did either, but you know, when you're born a certain way, you're kind of taught that this is who you are.
Right.
So for a long time, I just endured that. And, you know, and I still identify as a cultural Jew, but definitely not in the religion. And then in my mid 20s, I started a career at the Department of Agriculture, and I didn't have an office mate. And no one wanted to be an office mate with me. I think I was new and, you know, whatever, I was young. So this very kind woman agreed to be my office mate. Her name is Dana, and she's a wonderful person. And she was already into spirituality. And we had this really nasty boss who was constantly picking on me. I think because I was a young, cute thing, honestly. I think there was a little bit of jealousy. And I never knew what to do about it. And I was very young and I would get very angry. And my office mate would say to me, you know, you're a mirror to everything that happens to you. So even though you can't stand this woman and she's doing all these things, it must mean that somewhere in your life, you're reflecting this back. And I was like, what are you talking about? That's impossible. And that was sort of how I started to get into it. And then before I knew it, I did my first tarot card reading I had, and I went to a silent retreat, and I was like, wow, this is awesome. And then I had very little kids at the time, and I used to have a babysitter once a week, and she would let me out and I would go right to the bookstore and always kind of hang out in the self-help section. And then one day, I shit you not, this book falls off and
Oh,
lots of people
wow.
tell stories like this, you know, where the book fell off and like hit me in the
Absolutely.
head. And that is really what happened. And so Rev Rob was talking about this book. It's by Louise Hay, who is like a god to all, well, not a god, but we really like her.
She really is, though. No, that is not a lie. Like we used to, my friend Kathleen also, we found Louise Hay at the same time. And we used to just jokingly say, oh, you know, St. Louise and Louise, because what she says is, I've always said that you're not learning something new when you read Louise Hay. You are reading something that you always knew at the depths of your soul.
Right.
She's not telling you something you're going, oh, I never thought of it that way. You're going,
Right.
oh my God, I knew this all along. And I think
Right.
that's why it's so exhilarating
Right.
and why she's
It,
so kind of like put on a pedestal.
yeah, you know, and that is a real key point in spirituality is nothing is new. You're just being woken up to what you already knew. It's like a remembrance. And so I got this book mostly because at the time, I don't know if you can see, but it's like really colorful and it had
Beautiful.
exercises, and the really neat thing was in the back, it had
Mine was way
oh,
drier than that. I did not have all those pictures and everything. I just had a book. So that's pretty cool.
oh, okay. So like you could look up anything, like let's say you were she had this whole section in the back. This is how she really became famous, where people would identify problems, physical problems they were having with their bodies or their minds. And you could look up what the problem was, what the probable cause was, and then the new thought pattern to begin to think to change that. So like, for instance, if you have throat problems, like she says, the probable cause is the inability to speak up for oneself, swallowed anger, stifled creativity, refusal to change. And then the new thought pattern is, it's okay to make noise. I express myself freely and joyously. So that was kind of, I saw that and I was just like, wow, this is so cool. There is a metaphysical reason for why all of these things happen. And we can change that based on the thoughts that we're thinking. And so that book like became my life. And then it just so happened, my sister-in-law went to a spa and she said, Hilary, I saw this book, and this was the other book. It's
Oh,
called
I haven't read that.
It's so good. It's called Trust Your Vibes, and it's from Sonia Choquette. And it's very, very easy to read. And I also want to say that so is this one. They're both good introductory books. And this one was all about intuition and learning how to trust your vibes. It was very basic, and that's what I needed. I don't like a lot of esoteric giant phrases and words. I like it to be spelled out and easy for me. So I read both of those books that both found me. I didn't even look for it. And I'm sure if we asked all of you how you got into it, it would be a very similar story. And then, I started hearing about this guy named Avery Camphor, who unfortunately passed in July. And he was a spiritual teacher. And one of my friends just happened to say to me, I think you would really like him. You should try him out. Everyone's going to him. So at the time, I was having a really hard time getting pregnant with my second child. I was having a lot of miscarriages. And, since I was reading this Louise Hay book and I was looking up miscarriages and why that was happening, I felt like maybe he could help me. And I went to him, and gosh, I stayed with him. I can't even remember if it was like 10 or 13 years, but a really long time, until the point that I became a life coach and started doing my own metaphysical groups, which I called mindfulness groups, as well as private counseling. And so it was a ride that I got on, I want to say, when I was about 25. I'm 53 now. It's a ride you don't ever want to get off. You don't ever want to leave,
Yeah, I agree. And I think learning new things that make so much sense, like practical things. Louise Hay was very good about being practical, because basically her book was about I'm impressed that all the body stuff was in that book, because it's actually been a separate book called Heal Your Body. So my version of Heal Your Life did not have it. She referred to it a lot, but basically you can it made she listing those body parts and attaching them to something that's going on with you inside, emotionally or spiritually in some way, made a lot of sense to me. Hearing that I have stomach issues because I feel like my someone is exerting power over me, or I'm not able to kind of exert myself, or that if I've got throat problems, to look around and go, well, where do I feel like I've been silenced? Those things made sense. If your eye hurts, what are you afraid to look at? All these.
Right.
She's clear that she's not a medical professional, but to be able to begin to open your mind to thinking of these things as indicators that something's going on in your life, and that's why this is happening to you. That made sense to me. And then her using affirmations, which unfortunately kind of today gets made fun of a bit, but being able to look at yourself in the mirror, and instead of thinking all those bad things that we've been raised to kind of culturally think, you begin to attach yourself to, I am whatever you want to envision yourself to be. I am beautiful, I am prosperous, I am intelligent. We are not raised with those affirmations. Most of us are not. And
actually, I remember I used to have this statistic, which is probably outdated now, but it was from Psychology Today. And it was about how we think like 50,000 thoughts per day, and like 80% of them are negative. Like we don't even know. And that's the beauty of metaphysics, is that before you pick up a book like this, or you start delving into this world, you're not really paying attention to your thoughts at all. Life is just kind of happening, and you're busy or whatever. But once you start paying attention to your thoughts, you realize how often those negative thoughts fly in. It's not just the words you say, it's really what you're thinking that really matters. And so
it's really true. Which is what the basis of that work is. It's like we think our life is a manifestation of what we are thinking. And I think the best example they always use was like athletes. So athletes go through that whole mental thing. They envision themselves at the end of their whatever experience it is as winners in those situations. And so that there was a mainstream attachment to that mind body connection. And that made sense to me. Oh, okay. So if I'm going to try to do something, I'm going to imagine the victory that I have at the end. I'm going to imagine that feeling that I have at the end. I'm going to attach myself to this idea of it. And that really begins to help change. Conversely, I think that once you learn these things, that sometimes when you realize that you don't pay attention to your thoughts, then you realize, oh, paying attention to them is a habit that I have to, not paying attention to them is a habit I have to break. So it's not like you can read this and go, oh, I'm suddenly aware of my thoughts. You have to then be aware that you're not aware of your thoughts. And I think that's the part that gets people who are embracing this. It's like, oh, now I know more than I did, which means I have to actually take action and do something about it.
Yeah. And that's the hardest part. And for a lot of people, I mean, it is really hard to see your stuff. And those, first several years that I was getting into spirituality, and with the help of Avery, who I was going to and learning from him, it was hard on my ego. I mean, I was like, wow, I think a lot of negative thoughts, or, it's very hard and humbling when you start doing this work, because number one, you can't blame anyone anymore. That is like the really interesting
number one thing, right? You can't blame anybody,
because we live in a world where we're always blaming others for everything. I mean, that's what we've been taught. I really feel like in our society. So this is a completely opposite thought of, no, yeah, that person may have done something to you, but what's your part in this? What's your energy that you're putting out? What's your vibration? So it really does put the onus on you. So you have to really be brave to do this work. And at the same time, like, not be super mean to yourself when you
That's a very fine line, because taking responsibility is one thing, but then blaming, or feeling like you got to blame yourself. So, there's a fine line between saying I'm drawing this situation to me because I can look at my life and there are patterns. Oh my gosh, I have the same kind of friends, or I have the same spouse, or whatever. I'm drawing these situations to me where I'm always, coming out in this way. So you can see the pattern and realize, oh, I'm the common factor in all these things. It's not those people, it's me. So how do we, I think this has been my biggest challenge, is how do we understand this and then not just berate ourselves and think, oh, I'm to blame. I think Louise's biggest backlash is that she talks about big ticket illness issues. Like she was a pioneer in the AIDS field because she was working with people who were being taught that they were bad people for getting this disease. And so she was trying to teach a level of responsibility. She herself had cancer that she said she's cured herself from. So, and then people that are cynical or maybe trying to poke holes in this, try to respond by saying, oh, so you're saying I'm to blame for my trauma, my cancer, or my abuse, or my whatever. And so it's a way of, you've got to shift that thinking of, no, it's not blaming yourself, but it is claiming, not even taking, like claiming the responsibility that you have to live your own life. We as American people, we want to be autonomous. We want to be market driven. We want to be able to be individual and make our own decisions. Well, guess what? That means you can also choose how you respond to anything that comes to you. So regardless of what it looks like on its presentation to you, like how bad it might feel or look or be, we can choose our response to it. We can, and how we make something of it if it happens and it is bad.
Right. So it's sort of learning to own your own stuff, and at the same time, not beating ourselves up when we fall short, which of course we always do, because this whole thing is just a playground of evolvement and learning and growing. I mean, well, that's a good question. What do you think? Why do you think we're here? Why do you think we're on this planet?
Oh, wow. So I have to say, in the beginning of this spiritual journey, that was easy because I began mine in my late 20s and my early 30s as well. So yeah, seeing the world as us, for me, it was, I want to become one with, realize that we're all one, realize that we're one with the divine. I understood some of those things. So that meant, creating peace and also claiming responsibility for my life. Middle age kind of threw a little monkey wrench into this why we are here, because it kind of forces that question on you as your mortality is like facing you. Like, okay, so this was all great and good to think about, but okay, why am I here now? What am I doing? So I'm going to say, I think that we're here to make the most of the life that we have. And that's very simply it. Because otherwise, what would be the point? If I'm not here to make my world and the rest of the world better just through shaping how I look at everything that happens, both the good and the bad, then what's the point? If I wake up today and it's raining, for instance, raining's a great idea. Everybody goes, "Oh my God, it's a horrible day. It's raining." We've been conditioned to think this. So I can either walk out the door and be upset that it's raining or not. And when you realize that you have the choice, like, wait, who told me that who said that everybody has to hate rain? What if I decided that I like to go out every rainy day and just, play and be there? It's like, that's where we have to take responsibility. So I think we're here to enjoy the life we've been given. It's a gift. It is a gift.
Yeah, I agree. And to add on to that, I also think, we're really here to experience all the joy through our senses. Like, apparently, I can't remember, but on the other side, what I have learned is that you don't have taste, touch, smell, feel. What's the other one? See, I don't know. You don't have all, or hear, you don't have all those senses. Like here, it's just an explosion of senses, being able to eat delicious food, being able to listen to music, being able to laugh with friends. So for me, yeah, I would say we're here to really enjoy all of these senses and experience, because they say that when you're on the other side, believe it or not, you want to come back because you don't necessarily have all those experiences, and you can't learn and grow at the rate that you can on earth. So yeah, I used to have really deep answers for why we're here, but I agree with you. I think it's really just to enjoy the experience of being here, and to continue to grow. And
Yeah,
yeah,
the analogy I always use is, okay, if the asteroid's coming and you know that it's coming, whenever it happens in your life, are you going to look back at wherever you are in that moment and say thank you or oh shit? Like, it's just that's your only two decisions. And so now I strive to be the one who says thank you, to not engage in the fact that I'm having a bad day, and then like that's the way it is. I'm having a bad day, so like everything then becomes a bad day. I mean, if that's my choice, great, but like not be swept away by the fact that, oh, I got up late and then I missed the bus, and then those things just keep exploding. And so let's say you're at the end of your bad day and the asteroid comes, and that's what you want to do. Like you want those last moments to be, it was a bad day. Like, no. So, I think that's the midlife part of me. It's like,
yeah,
I want to be able to create what I want to create. At the same time, I want to be able to look at everything that I have and be happy in the moment that I'm in. Why be anything else? Why
right,
would I? And
right,
then it's always going to be searching for something. And
right.
related to the senses, a lot of religions, especially the extremes of both Judaism and Catholicism, are about denial of many of those senses.
Yeah,
And I, like you, feel like that's ridiculous. If we're here as human beings, all those things are to be experienced. Like
right.
denying yourself of that is actually, if there's going to be something of denial or sin, it's going to be like that. Like if you haven't lived the whole life with all the things you've been given, that would, for me, according to their standards, that would be the affront to the divine, not not having to not use them, deny yourself, or to withhold.
Right. And I think a key point with that, that I've had conversations with you before and others about, is that, and if you do things that, others would perceive as bad or wrong or dangerous or whatever, don't guilt yourself. Just decide that you're going to enjoy those things and let it go, because
Right.
it's really the guilt about doing the things that really put you in a lower vibe.
Yep.
And and I guess I can't figure out the word of what I'm trying to say, but maybe doing the bad thing isn't a bad thing at all. It's just that
Right.
it's been labeled bad, and then we
Correct.
feel guilt about the bad, and that's what creates the disharmony in self, is I guess what I wanted to say.
Yeah, guilt's not a good thing. I think remorse and understanding why you might have done something is something, but that's guilt and shaming yourself and beating yourself up. That gets you nowhere. And when I'm still, and I spiral a lot, now that I know to catch my thoughts, which frankly can be annoying, you catch yourself, and I can always ask myself, okay, I'm spiraling now. Is this helping me get rid of the problem or move forward from the problem or not? 9 times out of 10, of course, it's not helping me. I mean, it's not helping me at all. I may decide that I just want to be in that space for a few more minutes, but then I give it a time. Then I'm saying, okay, you get 5 more minutes of this gnarliness, and then the rest is up to you. And then you realize, oh, what can I do that's different? It's that I want to be happy, and that is up to me.
Beautiful. Yeah. Yeah. Well, so these are the kinds of things that we'll be talking about in our discussions. I actually was thinking be great to even do a discussion on guilt. I mean, I was born Jewish. You're Catholic. You're born Catholic.
And even if you're culturally either of those things, like I'm culturally still a Catholic, right? That does not go away.
Guilt permeates every
it does. It's a way of life.
Color, every cultural background, whatever. But we could definitely do something like that. So please connect with us again. We're going to try and do some regular discussions, and you can comment things that you would like to see us talk about, or share your experiences in the comments below. Please hit a like or a subscribe, a like and a subscribe, and come high vibe with us.
Yeah, we'll have the links to our respective events and activities.
Yeah.
Section, and check us out.
We each do different things, so definitely check out Rob's stuff and come check out my stuff as well. And thanks.
Thank you. I feel I'm high vibing right now. I don't know about you.
I'm high vibing.
Yes, indeed.
All right. Peace out. See you next time.
See you next time.